Hi there, Carson V. Heady, back again to discuss Birth of a Salesman, my first novel, which is actually available to order right this second. If you go to www.carsonv, as in victory, Heady, Heady.com, you can take a look at a lot of videos on the topic, look at some excerpts from the book itself, a few teaser videos, and make a purchase. Now, Birth of a Salesman, the reason I'm here today to do this particular video is to talk about what sets Birth of a Salesman apart from all the other success, motivation, sales books that are out there on the market. Because let's face it, there are a lot of them. Why Birth of a Salesman over the rest? Well, let me say this. When I decided to write a book, I've always wanted to do it, but I always knew that I'd have to have a unique spin on whatever I decided to do. And the idea hit me about a year ago, actually. Not only did I want to write about how to sell from start to finish, but I also wanted to incorporate a story that could help others. So the part of how to sell, let's talk about that. That takes up about 40% of the book itself. And from how to sell perspective, we're talking about preparation. How much is enough? How much is too much? What to do? How to prepare yourself mentally and physically for everything you undertake. How to motivate. How to get motivation from within. How to keep yourself going. How to battle burnout. These are all things that I've seen and done. Burnout, it's often misdiagnosed, and there are many different treatment options available to you, and they're all in the book. The introduction. Far too often we get dealt the initial shutdown of where we go in and we deal with either a gatekeeper or a decision maker that shuts us down right off the bat. I talk in the book about how to keep that from even happening, how to keep them from even having the opportunity to do that. I also use real life situations, examples, verbiage, scripts that are catered to all types of walks of the sales life, be it outside sales, be it inside sales, be it cold calling or being a road warrior. It's all covered in the book. In addition to that, fact finding. You're setting up the entire thing. You're playing prosecuting attorney. In a lot of instances, you're asking questions that you already know the answer to solely for the fact that you want to get answers from these questions so that you can use the customer's own words against them later when you're laying it all out. Far too often, people think that overcoming objections is the most important part of the sale, but it's not. It's another part of the sale. And I talked very vividly about what types of questions you need to ask, what you need to ascertain from your customer in order to be successful in the long run. In addition to that, we talk about pitching with confidence. A lot of times confidence is an act, okay? But the biggest thing about it is that you've got to project it whenever you're going out there pitching and closing. And a lot of times with the pitch and the close, the trick is not to make it a blunt object. Don't make it a blunt instrument. If you strike your customer over the head, if you don't preface price by setting it up for, an effective way to introduce it into the call, that's where a lot of times people fail. We're all very afraid of words like no, or of that costs too much, or things of that nature, and I talk about how you can turn that around. The part that everybody's waiting for in the book, at least from the sales portion, is overcoming objections. I know this because everybody thinks that that's most important in the sale. I talk about how to turn every objection into one. There is only one objection, and it's lack of belief, period. Now, you're going to see many different strains of objections. You're going to hear every one in the book. But the book is going to show you, this book, that is, how to turn all of those objections into lack of belief, period. Customer says, well, that just costs too much, or it's not in the budget. Well, Mr. Customer, let's face it, if you believe that this was going to work for you, you jump at the chance. Let's call it what it is. It's not about the money. You've already told me that you're spending this amount on these other mediums, these other things, these other products and services, but you're not willing to meet me halfway because you don't believe that this is going to work. What specifically do you not believe in here? And stop talking. Let the customer answer that so that you can tackle their lack of belief. And I would be willing to bet money on you and on your product knowledge that once you make it about lack of belief, that you can overcome any objection in the world. That's what I'm going to show you how to do. In addition, how to close and how to not make it a blunt object. We want to make our close, instead of being a painful thing for either you or your customer, we want to make it feel like you're walking hand in hand through a dewy meadow. You're walking down the yellow brick road to the land of Oz. And I talk about how to do that as well. Make it painless, end in a question, and force your customer to answer. And then if they have any underlying objections, how to force those out. It's all covered in Birth of a Salesman. Birth of a Salesman is also a fictional story about a character named Vincent Scott. Now Vincent, he's a unique guy, very charismatic, but he also has a lot of insecurities. Now I knew that if I was going to have a protagonist in a story, I had to make him flawed, because we're all flawed. So underneath the tough veneer and the tough, rough exterior, Vincent Scott is insecure, has a fear of not being loved, has a fear of not succeeding in this world, which I think a lot of us have. But he's very determined, and he makes a lot of things happen, taking them by force. Every single one of us, we have things in our job that we wish we could do sometimes, but we don't, for fear of repercussions, for fear of retaliation. But Vincent does every one of them, often to his own detriment. But he set himself up to be practically bulletproof through years of hard work, determination, and bringing millions of dollars into the company that he works for. Now, every story has a villain. The villain in Birth of a Salesman is the district manager. His name is Keith Dickhauser, and Keith is kind of a relic of an age long gone in the company. He leads through fear and intimidation, and a lot of the story is how Vincent and his top-notch management team forge ahead under this dictatorship. Keith is not completely irredeemable, but a lot of the story shows what Keith puts these people through. And not coincidentally, when the story begins, he's under an ethics investigation by the company. Whenever that starts, the managers have to decide, are we going to play ball in this investigation or not? And it goes through a lot of those types of inner turmoil questions that Vincent and the managers faced. There's a lot of other characters in this play. There are about 20 sales managers that work for Vincent. Each of them has a personality all their own and a part to play. In addition to that, there is a commissions supervisor who is corrupt and refuses to pay people properly because he benefits on the back end. There's a clerical supervisor who is in thick in Keith Dickhauser's boys club, and he plays a pretty hefty part as well. A lot of this story, there's intrigue, there is diabolical activity, there's romance, there's betrayal, there's deceit. It's got it all. And the key thing is watching how these characters evolve and what happens. Now, it also shows the things that Vincent gets himself into. He's not perfect. He makes a lot of poor decisions based on reactions from the things that he deals with. Vincent just happens to be the youngest manager in the history of his company. And with that comes a lot of things that nobody ever prepared him for. He makes hasty reactions to things, makes bad decisions, gets involved with a few women that he shouldn't, and a lot of those things take a toll on him, and you'll see how his character progresses through that story. How he deals with a corrupt system, because Vincent is one of the few people left that believes in integrity and honesty in this type of a world. Birth of a Salesman's got a little something for everybody. Check it out. Remember, www.carsonv.com, Heady. Check out the site, order the book today, and whether you want a fictional story or you want to learn something along the way, don't delay. Pick up Birth of a Salesman today. Make it a great selling day. All the best.